are exactly 1 month out from WrestleMania 41 as I am recording this video, and if you are watching the TV, the Raws and the SmackDowns, well, there may be a few people that will miss WrestleMania. Now, you never want anyone to miss WrestleMania, you don't. I kind of feel like WWE and Triple H feel the same, because if you kind of do your predictions, it feels like there could be at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 multi-person matches. I mean, even the WWE Women's Championship, or the other one, I get confused what they're called, is going to have Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. Now, that one is going to be absolutely badass. But let's take the Men's IC Championship, the Men's US Championship. If you walked into my house right now and said, "Hi, man, I think that will feature a bunch of dudes too," I would probably agree with you, and then we could have some tea. So, who are the people that could actually miss the show entirely? And trust me, man, I hope I'm completely wrong. Well, we're going to start with who's been in the news recently, Alexa Bliss. Now, hey, speculation, that's not what we're doing today. We're just going through a list of names and trying to figure out what could happen. But yes, I believe it was yesterday or whenever the flub, it got announced that Alexa Bliss is no longer appearing at WWE World, which is essentially now the fan convention or the big shop that WWE puts on before WrestleMania. Now, she is a brand new mother, so again, I do think we have to throw that into the equation because you just don't know what's going on in people's personal lives. But just taking it from the character that we see on television, it does seem super duper weird. Like, she came back at the Royal Rumble, got an awesome pop, made you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. She then wasn't really involved massively in the build to the Elimination Chamber, apart from hitting, I think it was Liv Morgan with the sister Abigail. Then in the Elimination Chamber, again, it felt like we were going to do something with Liv Morgan, which is why I made a few videos going, I bet it's going to be Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending their tag team titles against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, because Alexa Bliss could rejoin the Wyatt Six. And listen, we still have plenty of time to make that happen, but I do understand why all of a sudden you would want to chat about this. If somebody gets taken out of the autograph part of the weekend, are they going to be performing? We do not know. But even throwing that all out to one side, overall in terms of debuting or re-debuting at the Royal Rumble all the way to now, which has almost been 2 months, it's been a very weird comeback for Alexa. So I really do hope she's doing okay. And I want to see more of her. Again, she clearly has that connection with the crowd, which is the best thing ever. And even if we are going to go to the Wyatt stuff, well, I tell you, it ties into the next person on this list, which is the Wyatt Six. Now, I have no idea what is going on with these guys, because they were having that feud with the Final Testament. Let's face it, it wasn't great. It was kind of just there. I wouldn't describe it as bad, but it wasn't really doing much for me, I will tell you that. The Miz was involved in that too, and then we have the transfer window, the stupid transfer window, and the Wyatts get moved to SmackDown. We think we've seen them ever since. We've had some glitches and stuff like that. It's a really, really strange situation. And, you know, there is room, I just mentioned Nikki Cross, to be in a tag team going after the Women's Tag Team Championships for sure. But she could go after a singles championship too, given we now have women mid-card belts. But then, I know Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas got injured, but he seems to be okay now. And again, they're such a presentation, character-led group. You could easily have them on TV. And then as for Eric Rowan and whoever else is in that damn thing, I can't remember now, Dexter Lumis, etc., I just have no idea. And really, in terms of the rest of the crew, and they've not really done anything apart from pop up here, pop up there, pop up here, and pop up there. I do think if you want to do something with them at WrestleMania, you've got to pull the trigger quite quick. Because again, they're all spooky wookiness, and they're all, man, we're going to get in your head and tell this sort of mad narrative. I don't get this one either. It does kind of feel like they're interlinked. I think WWE does want to get Alexa Bliss back to this side of her persona, because I think that's where they sold the most merchandise, which is why she came out with Lily. But there's just no real plan, as far as I'm concerned. Now, obviously, there is other stories to this, given how the Wyatt Six were born into the world. So, once again, same with Alexa. I just hope they are doing okay in their personal lives and something. But I don't even know where they'd figure in, unless you do go to that tag team match. But, I mean, who would Bo Dallas even face? And even if you did a group versus group thing, who the hell would be the group? But I couldn't even figure this one out. I couldn't even hazard a guess. Because, again, we broke the Final Testament up. And actually, we'll continue on these segues, because the next dude is Karrion Kross. Because it felt like he was going to do something with Sami Zayn. That's right, Sami Zayn's another person on this list, so I've totally screwed this up. But I don't think you want to sort of do something with that now. And as for Sami Zayn, I suppose Sami Zayn, I think, will get involved in Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton. I do think we're going to give it some kind of a stipulation, and maybe Kevin Owens is going to do something super dastardly, and then Sami Zayn helps Randy Orton, but then is that really a babyface thing to do? Maybe Randy Orton doesn't like this, and he punts Sami Zayn as well, but then you're probably going to not turn Randy Orton heel, but some people won't like that, so Randy will get booed. But Karrion sort of was gnawing away at Sami Zayn, but then Sami Zayn got murdered in that match with Kevin Owens. We haven't seen him since. But Karrion now seems kind of obsessed with AJ Styles. Now, I think it's going to be AJ Styles versus Logan Paul, although, actually, saying that, is it Andrew Schultz, the name of that comedian? He was on something the other day, and basically said, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'm not done with Logan Paul. So, yes. we may very be in for a situation where it's AJ Styles and Andrew Schultz taking on Logan Paul and Karrion Kross. That's a very real thing that we could do. And listen, we know that Logan Paul knows what he's doing in the ring, so they can carry the load, for lack of a better term. But I'll tell you, my friend, because you have been very kind in the sense you're giving me your time, I don't want that. I barely want AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I definitely don't want other people added into the mix. But again, Karrion Kross is really, really getting under AJ's skin. And it would be weird if we pivoted away from the Logan Paul stuff now, because we've talked about it so much. That could be the way that Karrion gets in there. But it still means that he's not feuding or doing anything with Sami Zayn. I don't really think that's a WrestleMania program either. Like, I'm happy for them to do that match, because I think Karrion Kross is a really compelling character, and he's been awesome the last couple of months. But that's something you do on the Raw afterwards, or you do the SmackDown before. We know that WWE enjoys doing that. So I don't know how they fit in. Again, I actually believe right now, given what just popped into my brain, that Karrion Kross has a bigger chance of being on the WrestleMania card than Sami Zayn. And if I had told you that at the back end of 2024, you wouldn't have believed it. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing for Sami Zayn. Again, he won the IC Championship last year. He's super duper mega over. And I actually think he could be the dude, not to necessarily beat Jey Uso for the World Championship, but potentially. But I do think he's going to win the world title in 2025, maybe early 2026. So it will negate all of this, as it is. But you don't want to rush people. You don't want to put people on there for the sake of putting them on there. But it's really interesting. And again, because Karrion Kross has just moved so far away from it, you get Sami Zayn in the sense he'll be in the building, getting himself involved in that Kevin Owens-Randy Orton match. But that we won't get anything else. And again, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I mean, I love Sami Zayn. We wait and see. Dominic Mysterio is another guy. Now, it could be him versus Finn Balor, because now it kind of feels like we've shifted Finn Balor away from that Intercontinental title scene. Although those two could also be in a multi-man for the IC Championship. I could totally see a world. Originally, I thought AJ Styles, but we don't seem to be doing that just yet. But again, we've got time. But you could do a multi-man where it's Bron Breakker versus Ludwig Kaiser versus Penta versus Finn Balor versus Dominic, and maybe even versus somebody like Pete Dunne, although he is going to be on those Bloodsport shows a few days beforehand. And again, I don't mind that. I'd rather people were on the show than not on the show. But you could also do Finn Balor versus Dominic, but that kind of feels like, again, something they would do on TV as opposed to WrestleMania, just because we have so many potential matchups. I kind of put Dominic as the heel version of Sami Zayn. Does he deserve a spot? Yes. Do I want to see him on the card? Yes. Would I like him to be a future champion? Yes. Some people got annoyed about that the other day. I would love it if he became the IC champ. I don't think you do that at WrestleMania, even if he is in there. But I do think we are headed towards the end of the Judgment Day, a brand new version of the Judgment Day when Finn Balor gets kicked out. Finn Balor will then become a super duper whooper mega babyface. I do think it's time, as much as I really have enjoyed heel Finn. He's been hilarious. But then he can feud with Dominic Mysterio. So we do have time, as I keep saying, in order to sort of work this out. We have planted the seeds. So maybe as part of the multi-man match, I can't see the singles on WrestleMania. And don't forget, sometimes when WWE does put a massive match up onto a Raw or SmackDown, they deliberately don't put it on WrestleMania. They say, like, well, it was a WrestleMania match because it's happening at WrestleMania weekend. Now, that's a bit of baloney. And of course, these guys want to feature, but there's an outside chance. I mean, Dominic Mysterio barely has matches these days, which is not a problem. Sometimes less is more. But it's going to be an interesting one. In terms of other people that have just absolutely smashed it over the last 12 months, but also could WrestleMania, which just feels so upsetting, I think you've got to throw Nia Jax and Candice LeRae in there too. Like, unless we're going to do a big old women's tag team boom, boom, boom match again, just to get as many people on there as possible, I don't see where they fit. And also, I don't really want to do that with the women's tag team titles, because Nia Jax and Candice LeRae shouldn't be fighting for them. Not that logic has ever really worked its way into professional wrestling. And for Nia, who I really do think has had the best year of her, or the best run of her career so far, it would be a shame. But the thing is, she's done so much. Who do you even pair her with? She was the world champion. She had all the stuff with Tiffany Stratton. She's done all the stuff with Rhea Ripley. She did all the stuff with Naomi. There's nobody else for her to fight, so actually her taking some time off, which is what she's doing at the moment, so we can hit reset, is probably the best thing. And her re-debuting, which is not the right term, on the SmackDown after WrestleMania to then start a feud with somebody is probably the correct thing to do. And if we are going to call a bunch of people up from NXT, Nia Jax can absolutely play that role. She would be brilliant at it. And as I always say, nobody is as good as playing Nia Jax as Nia Jax. Now, that doesn't make sense. You was like, Simon, but she is Nia Jax. I'm like, yes, but the traits that you would need in order to get the Nia Jax character over exist within Nia Jax. This is a very paradoxical situation, and it doesn't make any sense, but I do actually think she will be rested through WrestleMania, at least in terms of a big match. She could interfere in something, but I can't really see that either. It is probably the right move from a creative standpoint, but from the human standpoint and from the Nia Jax standpoint, if anyone has earned a spot, it's her. I think she's great. Bayley is another one that people keep talking about, so I wanted to throw it in here, because again, it's a conversation, so we should have that chat here too. I think it's going going to be her versus Roxanne Perez. Now, neither of them have really featured recently, but surely either on SmackDown that is airing tonight as I'm talking to you, or on a Raw, we are going to get into this. I just think it's the easiest feud you can do in the world. You planted the seeds in NXT, Roxanne Perez can win, and then all of a sudden she's beaten Bayley and she's off to the races, and you did it on a stage like WrestleMania. Depends whether you think you can fit this in there. Once again, it could be a TV match instead, but you can do a mini feud there, and Bayley can win the second one with Roxanne Perez winning the third one, and then she's established on either a Raw or SmackDown, whatever the flub you want to put her, and it's not like she hasn't got the skills to do it. Still not 100% sure she is going to be babyface or heel. I think she's a bad guy at the moment just because she wasn't in NXT, and we've just sort of, pushed the two together. But beating somebody like Bayley is just an easy way to do it, although it does kind of leave Bayley in no man's land, which is a huge shame because she's another one. So underrated, never puts in a bad performance, is always there. She's a bit like an Iron Woman, is whole Bayley. She can do whatever you want. But again, when you do have that tenure and you do have that legacy and you do sort of almost have that shield around you, you can be used in that position. It's a blessing and a curse. They're never going to get rid of her, but sometimes she's not going to get her due. So I think we will do Bayley versus Roxanne Perez on this show. I just think it makes the world of sense. If you have big plans for Roxy down the road, don't make her miss her first WrestleMania where she's actually eligible. And those two will have a great match. Like, it would be a bigger surprise if they didn't, but they know the deal. They definitely will. Let's move over to the Raw Tag Team division because, Matt, who the flub knows what's going on with those belts? It is in such stark contrast to the SmackDown. Like, even if you don't like the stuff they're doing on SmackDown, at least you know the direction. I really hope that WWE just hold their hands up and go, man, we shouldn't have separated these titles, and they push them back together. Like, it really works for the women's championships, and the upside there is that because you do just have less belts numerically, it can make the other titles feel more important. That's just an offshoot of this kind of a thing. Now, I have been pitching for the New Day versus the War Raiders with the New Day winning, but now I'm just starting to think that maybe WWE doesn't want to do anything with the heel New Day. I do not get it. One of the best and one of the most inventive heel turns we have seen, at least in the last 10 to 15 years. And ever since then, listen, they've been always super entertaining and they've made this thing work. But I really felt like it should have led to the championships. And as for the War Raiders, they had that match with the Creeds, then they kind of vanished. The New Day, sometimes they're doing stuff with Rey Mysterio. You could do that, right? Because you've got, Phoenix could be included maybe. But you do have a potential feud with Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee and somebody else and the New Day. Maybe even Chad Gable as a luchador. Like, they are all kind of smudging together. But American made, there are more people that may miss out on WrestleMania unless you're going to do this. But if you do that, then the Raw Tag Team titles aren't on the line, if you are going to shove the War Raiders in there too. And at the moment, apart from the New Day, I don't know who the War Raiders could face that would feel like a WrestleMania match. And in order to get the level to a WrestleMania match, you need to be doing something now, and those two haven't even crossed paths. Like, the Raw Tag Team scene is bereft. Is that the right word? Have I made that up? I think I've made that up at the moment. We need new teams. Maybe we need to bring up some people from NXT. Fraxium would be brilliant. Like, they're too good, Fraxium. People say, oh, they'll never make it on the main roster. Yes, they will with right creative and right booking. So maybe this is a reason the Lucha Brothers were meant to be a team before we had all the politics that did get involved. And maybe that was the plan. They were going to come and absolutely smash the tag division. But even then, one team is not enough. So listen, the War Raiders are great. The New Day are excellent. One of my favorite teams of all time. But we are behind the ball if this is going to happen. So they may miss out. And of course, that would be worst from a wrestler point of view. But not to have the Raw Tag Team Championships on WrestleMania, that just tells the fans, well, we don't really care, so you shouldn't care either, and that is rubbish. Braun Strowman is another dude, do not know where he fits in. I guess if we do a multi-man for the US Championship, he could, because he does help Jacob. He does hate Jacob Fatu, I should say, and I think Jacob Fatu is winning the US Championship at the WrestleMania 41. You can protect LA Knight, 'cause then somebody else can pin him, so you could do that with him, but otherwise, I don't know where he goes. The same with Carmelo Hayes, and they kind of have a similar path at the moment, because they had that really fun match, or those couple of fun matches a few months ago, and then they kind of had direction. I mean, Braun more than Carmelo, and Carmelo's another one, right? Again, he's been awesome ever since he's been called up for what he's been given. He's just lost a lot, and sometimes that does hold you back a little bit. He's going to be fine. Like the match he had with Randy Orton on SmackDown was just so much fun. It was the simplest thing ever, but sometimes that's all it has to be. But I think Carmelo would benefit, kind of like the stuff we did with Andrade, who was also on this list, as I continue to ruin this. But I mean, Andrade can't even get on TV. He seems to have gone back to social media to subtweet and be like, oh, I can't get on television, which is not good. Maybe he goes back to AEW and becomes the ultimate tennis player in professional wrestling. But he needs a feud like that, Carmelo Hayes, that we can just invest in and enjoy, but more so than we did last time. Let him cut promos, let there be a story, put a narrative in there. Maybe we're going to call Trick Williams up again. I wouldn't call him a heel on NXT, but we've been trying to showcase more of a grrr side, and maybe that's because we want to give him the last tools before he does get called up to the main roster. But do you want to go back to Trick and Carmelo? Not 100% sure, although I'm sure the vast majority of the main roster audience don't actually know that even ever existed. So there could be a lot of we're going to call this person up after WrestleMania, and that's going to help this guy. But yeah, in terms of Carmelo Hayes, again, you could talk Carmelo and Braun and put them in a big US title match. Who else would be in that, though? LA Knight, obviously. Jacob for 2. It would be those two. And so you could put Solo Sikoa in there, I guess, to try and create some kind of, the bloodline's going to do it, and then continue on the fallout of them. You could do a 5-way. Would there be a 6th person? There's probably someone I'm missing right now that is super duper obvious. But yeah, Carmelo Hayes, another one. We'll use the same phrase as Bayley. In no man's land, definitely needs some direction. And listen, Braun Strowman is brilliant. We'll use the Nia Jax term. Braun Strowman is excellent at being Braun Strowman. You need that big man that can just run around and knows how to entertain, and he does. But I kind of feel like that may be his purpose for a while. Which is perfectly fine, by the way. You do need individuals like that. And he's had a great career. I mean, he's been going since, 2016? It feels like he was flipping ambulances. That's almost 10 years. And it does look like his knees hurt him these days, so maybe it is less is more. Now, there are going to be other people that I've forgotten about. Who do you think have missed WrestleMania? I keep seeing people say, well, Becky Lynch. I'm like, well, yeah, but Becky Lynch hasn't returned yet. How can you miss something when you haven't even made your grand return? I do think that will happen on the Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania. We will do surprise return predictions for them way closer to those shows. Otherwise, please do like the video, share the video, subscribe, click that bell, notification bell. I'd appreciate it. Click the video on the screen, which is me talking about WrestleMania and bad things that could happen. Why wouldn't we be negative Nancy's? If you're into lifting weights, please do go to GorillaMind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon, get 10% off. There is a code down there. I use these supplements and I wouldn't promote them, but I didn't think they're excellent, but they are. Simon316, come give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter and all those things. Simon J. Miller on TikTok, Simon Miller on Cameo for personalized videos, ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller, SimonMiller.BigCartel.com. Buy yourself some dumb t-shirts that people have been very kind about recently because we are leaning into puns. Why wouldn't we do that? Otherwise, have a great day, great weekend, great week, great month, great year, and I'll see you soon.